ಕ್ಯಾಂಪೇನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮುಂದುವರಿಸಿರುವುದು ನದೀಮ್ ಅವರು ಆಲ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಮೀಟಲ್ಲೂ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆದ ಆಲ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಮೀಟಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಈಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವರ ಬಹುಮುಖ್ಯವಾದಂಥ ಅವರ ಇನ್ಸೈಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅವರ ಒಳಗುಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನದೀಮ್ ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ನಮಗೆ ಜೊತೆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಇಡೀ ಭಾರತದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಸಿದ್ಧವಾದ ಹೆಸರು, ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಆರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಗಿನಿಂಗ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮಾತಾಡಿದಂಥ ಪರಕಾಲ ಪ್ರಭಾಕರ್ ಅವರು ಬಹಳ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಎಕನಾಮಿಸ್ಟ್, ಬಹಳ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಜ್ಞರು. ಹಲವಾರು ಕೃತಿಗಳನ್ನು ಅವರು ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಭಾರತದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಓಡಾಡಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯ ಒಂದು ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಣ್ಮುಂದೆ ತೆರೆದಿಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದರು. ಭಾಳ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂಥ ಮುನ್ನೋಟಗಳನ್ನು ಬೆಳಕನ್ನು ಚೆಲ್ಲಿದ್ರು. ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಪರಕಾಲ ಪ್ರಭಾಕರ್ ಅವರು ಈ ಪತ್ರಿಕಾಗೋಷ್ಠಿಯಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಎಂ ಗಣೇಶ್ ದೇವಿ ಅವರು ಇಡೀ ನಮ್ಮ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಭಾಷಾ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಜ್ಞರು, ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಬಹಳ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಲಿಂಗ್ವಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಹೆಸರನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿದಂಥ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಎಂ ಗಣೇಶ್ ದೇವಿ ಅವರು ಈ ಪತ್ರಿಕಾಗೋಷ್ಠಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ದೇವ ಸಹಾಯಂ ಅವರು ನಿವೃತ್ತ IAS ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು. ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಈ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಯಾಂಪೇನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹುಮುಖ್ಯವಾದ ಅಂಶಗಳನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಹಂಚಿಕೊಂಡವರು ಮತ್ತು ಮುಂಬರುವ ಅಪಾಯಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೂ ಕೂಡ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದಲ್ಲದೆ ಗುರುದೀಪ್ ಸಪ್ಪಾಲ್ ಅವರು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಮುಂದಿನ ನಮ್ಮ ಫ್ಯೂಚರ್ ಏನಾಗಿರಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವ ಅಂಶಗಳನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇಂಡಿಯಾ INDA ಒಕ್ಕೂಟದ ಅದರ ಕನ್ವೀನರ್ ಆಗಿ ಅವರ ವಿಶೇಷ ಅನುಭವಗಳನ್ನು ಮತ್ತು ಅದನ್ನು ಮುನ್ನಡೆಸ್ತೀವಿ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥ ನಮಗೆ ಭರವಸೆಯನ್ನು ಇವರು ಸಪಾಲ್ ಜಿ ಅವರು ನಮಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈಗ ತೀರ್ಥ ಸತಿಲವಾದವರು ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಇದೆ. ತೀರ್ಥ ಸತಿಲವಾದವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಇಡೀ ಕಳೆದ 20 ಇಯರ್ಸಿಂದಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಗ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು 2ನೇ ಮನೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿಗೆ ಸದಾ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರುವ ಕಮ್ಯುನಲಿಸಮ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ 2002ರಲ್ಲಿ ಗುಜರಾತಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಜಕ್ಕೂ ಒಂದು ವಿರೋಧ ಪಕ್ಷ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅದು ತೀರ್ಥ ಸತಿಲವಾದ ಆಗಿದ್ದರು. ಗುಜರಾತ್ ರೈಟಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಇಡೀ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾಂಪೇನ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವರು ಇಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಸೇರಿ ಪತ್ರಿಕಾಗೋಷ್ಠಿಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತು. ನಾನು KL ಅಶೋಕ್, ಎದ್ದೇಳು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕಮಿಟಿಯ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಆಗಿ ಇದನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ವಿ. ಈಗ ಕಡಲೆ ಕೊಡಿ. ಈಗ ಪರಕಾಲ ಪ್ರಭಾಕರ್ ಅವರು ಆರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಪತ್ರಿಕಾಗೋಷ್ಠಿ ಉದ್ದೇಶ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಲೋ, ಒಂದೇ ನಿಮಿಷ. DSS, ಆಮೇಲೆ CPI, CPM, ಆಮ್ ಆದ್ಮಿ, ಸೋಷಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಪಕ್ಷ, ವೆಲ್ಫೇರ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ, ಇನ್ನಿತರ ಹಲವಾರು ಪಕ್ಷಗಳ ಪ್ರತಿನಿಧಿಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಲ್ಗೊಂಡು, ಸರ್ವೋದಯ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ, ಇನ್ನೂ ಹಲವಾರು ಪಕ್ಷಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಲ್ಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
Good afternoon, everybody. We've had a very fruitful discussion since morning. The gist of it is that there is a very serious concern about the reflection of the people's will in the ballot box. Many people are apprehensive that reflection will not be or is not likely to be faithful. And we deliberated on what should be done. One theme that emerged is that in the event of the present regime getting defeated, the transition of power, the transfer of power is unlikely to be smooth. The current regime would like to stick to power, to the office, by hook or by crook. And the apprehensions are strengthened because of doubts cast on the impartiality of the Election Commission of India, the way they are not responding to the various petitions and pleas from the civil society as well as from the political parties about various violations of the Model Code of Conduct, and the Commission itself not releasing the final data, the gross voting from phase 1 onwards. And of course, there are a lot of other instances which were talked about. And then the media probably would drum up some kind of a narrative immediately after the closing of the polls to make any kind of a manipulated outcome palatable to the general civil society by showing a lot of exit polls that are in favor of the current regime. These are the different concerns that were expressed. And then we also discussed about what should be done from the civil society and of course the political parties. We thought that at various levels pressure should be put on the bureaucracy, people who are in charge of conducting the elections, the Election Commission officers in various ways, that they should not stray from their laid down duties and go away from the principles that are their job description. They have to faithfully follow the Constitution and the principles. That they should be made aware that the entire civil society is watchful, is watching. And the civil society is not going to take it lying down, any kind of a manipulation. And various suggestions are made about this. And of course, further discussions will have to take place with several other organizations in different parts of the country. A network has to be built. This is mainly in order to build very robust, strong guardrails for our democracy so that it is not derailed and it is not subverted. And such initiatives, I think, are now in the offing in many parts of the country because the civil society is very alive to this kind of a threat. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The very fact that the transfer of power is being discussed is that there's a general sense that the mandate of the people is going to be. I think the vast majority of Indians have decided that 10 years of this fascist rule is enough and we must return back to democracy. So, I don't want to go into details. From the very beginning, we have been critiquing the way the elections have been conducted, scheduling of the elections. I don't want to go into that. But now we are reaching the final stages. So in the morning I quoted the Russian dictator, Joseph Stalin. It is enough that the people knew that there was an election. The people who cast the votes decide nothing. The people who count the votes decide everything. This is a quotation attributed to Joseph Stalin, the most notorious dictator that we ever had. So Russia is following this. Russian elections, we know about it, is following this. But Indian elections never had this. There was a stint of this in 2019, but not in an organized manner. Now we feel, in 2024, sensing the mood of the people, they have been creating narratives and narratives and narratives, lies and lies and lies, to tell that everyone in this country wants fascism to continue. But one thing I'll tell you, based on my experience nearly 5 decades ago, after the emergency 1975 to 77, I was part of the electoral process as the district magistrate of Chandigarh and the returning officer of Chandigarh in 1977. The question before the people was the same, almost the same: democracy or dictatorship. And the people, through clairvoyance in the Hindi belt, stood as one. Within 2 months, they voted democracy back. The election at that time, I still remember, Swaminathan, Mr. T. Swaminathan was Chief Election Commissioner. We were all young returning officers. Absolutely free and fair. Absolutely. I still remember. Because I was the returning officer, I conducted the election. So I'm now coming back to the 2024. The atmosphere, the mood among the people is almost the same. Even in the Hindi belt. Since I have served in the Hindi belt, I get feedback from the Hindi belt. The mood is very much the same. They want India back to democracy. But the stumbling block is, are the elections free and fair? My answer is, by and large, no. This is not the way you conduct elections. I don't want to go into details. We are in the final stages. In spite of all this, people have voted, and I am sure vast majority have voted for change. And the counting day is what going to make all the difference. And the way they are going to hustle and rush up the counting, the way Election Commission is behaving, not manipulating the EVM, getting an order from the Supreme Court that there's no need for cross verification. So the verification is out. You can't verification. No verification is out. Now by not revealing the votes polled, they don't even want you to know how many votes were polled. So you are black box into black box, and you are counting into darkness. So it could lead to a massive stealing of the mandate of the people. So today's the whole exercise, starting from the morning till now, is to how to prevent it. How to prevent the people's mandate being, even the title of the seminar, the discussion also was the same. Mandate, stealing of the mandate. So there's a clear and present danger. That's what we discussed the whole day. And finally, of course, Mr. Prabhakar has explained to you, one strategy we want the people of India through the media to know is, now the venue shifts from Delhi to the districts, to every constituency. As a former civil servant, let me tell you, with all sense of responsibility, the entire counting operation, polling of course was there, I don't want to go into that, but the counting operation particularly, the entire counting is done by the officers of the Indian Administrative Service. They are the 543 returning officers. They are the several hundred observers who will be observing. So these IAS officers are bound by the All India Service rules, which clearly says they have to function as per the Constitution. They must free and fair and completely. So it is mandated on them. Any violation is violation of service rules, for which they can be hauled up later. And also, before entering the service, every one of them has taken allegiance to the Constitution. and violating allegiance to the Constitution is a moral crime. So, elections, as you know, free and fair election is a basic structure of the Constitution. So, idea is now the people must do another duty. Those who have voted this fascist government out, the second duty is on them through the civil society to convey the message to all the returning officers and observers. Sir, you are being watched. You are watching. But we have hopes. We have no doubts about your integrity. We are sure you will stand by your integrity, your allegiance to the Constitution. And all we want is the will of the people should prevail. The mandate should prevail. As you know, vox populi, vox Dei. Voice of people is the voice of God. That is the message we are trying to convey through this day-long deliberations. Thank you very much.
A very good afternoon to all friends from the media. After a very intense 5-6 hour long consultation of a unique formation, Idelu Karnataka, and several groups similar to Idelu Karnataka who took inspiration from the Karnataka experiment countrywide, we came together and we assessed the entire campaign for the election and also the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months forward. Friends, this has been a unique election. After all our experiences of 75, 77, the first emergency, this is like, all of us know it's a far worse situation. It's an undeclared emergency. The complete capture of the media, which is why we call it the Godi media. And therefore, I think the next 2 weeks to 2 months or 3 months, as Dr. Ganesh Devi put it, is crucial. The campaigns that have been thought of hereafter, I'll just quickly enumerate. Mr. Prabhakar has already outlined some. But I think a Citizens Vigilance Commission consisting of former judges, bureaucrats, police officers will be monitoring the entire process onwards. Is the Election Commission following the law to the letter when it comes to giving of 17C forms to the candidates? Is it assuring the candidates and the people of India of an exemplary counting process, of a secure counting process in line with the 26 April 2024 order of the Supreme Court, that the strong room will be protected, that there will be no interference, and the counting day proceedings will happen without fear or without favor. So far, the Election Commission has raised a lot of eyebrows and queries and doubts by not releasing the data of the percentage of votes and the total votes polled. We know that. We've raised objections, opposition has raised election. This is a unique election for another reason, because it's the people of India who are fighting independently and supporting the India Alliance, even though we are not party members, because we believe that this government needs to be overthrown if democracy and the Constitution has to survive. So apart from this Vigilance Commission, we are also going to be conducting independent media polls through independent media channels, digital channels, YouTubers, to show the kind of huge support for the opposition, growing support for the opposition in almost all states all over India, not just South India, as the narrative is. The repeated phrase that we are seeing this narrative creep back in the committed Godi commercial media, that the figure again is surfacing again 400 and 300. We do not accept that. We believe that the government is jittery. We believe that the leaders of the government are making out of the box completely characterful statements which are extremely vicious, and we believe that the will of the people must and should prevail. I also want to point out that the Times of India reported that there was a fire in North Block on 14th of April. There was a fire in the Income Tax Office on the 15th of April in Delhi. And there was a fire in the BJP's central office in the same day. All these things point to very suspicious things. There has been no comment from the government on this. And therefore, I think at this point, the next 2 weeks to 2 months are very crucial for the citizens of India, for community leaders, for mass organizations, for people's organizations. We must, at the constituency level, the parliamentary constituency level and the counting booth level, ensure that the citizens remain vigilant on the counting process before counting day, have silent marches, have torchlit marches on our mobiles to ensure that the returning officer conducts his fair duty. One of the suggestions that came from Goa was that, as was pointed out earlier, that those officers who are manning booths are IAS officers. and they are bound by the administrative services rules, which binds them not to the government in power, but to the Constitution. And just as the Election Commission of India should not be looking at the government in power, but should be looking at the Constitution and the Supreme Court, even the returning officers who are IAS officers should be reminded by citizens that they have to do their duty. So all these many mobilizations will take place, citizens mobilizations decentralized all over the country, constituency wise, at the state unit, and of course in the capital city. We hope that the Election Commission remembers that its primary responsibility is to the voters' will of the people of India and not to the government in power. It has not won our confidence yet. We hope that it's still time to redeem itself and that it performs its duty as per the mandate. We also appeal to the Supreme Court of India, which may be on vacation, but it should rise to the occasion in this very historic moment, so that if there are any misdemeanors, there should be an immediate step in from the judiciary. We really hope that the manner in which the people of India, against all odds, it's not been a free and fair election, it has not been a level playing field. We know that the political opposition has been targeted, and yet I think the people of India and the political opposition, the India Alliance, have put up a fight. And we believe that fight will mean that democracy will be victorious, the Constitution will be victorious, and we do hope that the Election Commission performs its constitutional duty. Thank you.
Thank you. When this election started, everybody was saying it's a one-sided affair. But I think people forgot that democracies thrive not just on political parties, but also because of people of a nation, the voters. And people have spoken out. Now no one is saying that this election is one-sided affair. The general perception is that people have voted, and people have voted in large numbers to vote this government out. The second part of the democracy is the Election Commission of India, because elections, as Mr. Devashyam said, that the numbers of votes voted don't matter, the number of votes counted, they decide the results. And the duty of the Election Commission, and we say it with full responsibility, is not just to conduct an election, but also to ensure that people trust the election process. It is the duty of the Election Commission to ensure that people have faith that their votes will be counted properly, and unfortunately, this trust today is missing in a large section of our people today. We have been appealing to election commissions. We have gone in delegations, we have met election commission, but unfortunately, our issues are not being addressed, and not just they are unaddressed. The election commission went to the length to address a letter to the Congress President, Mr. Kharge, answering a letter which was not even written to election commission, and putting the onus of the voter data on the political parties. And election commission wrote in that letter that it is incumbent on the political parties to do their own data analytics before coming to election commission. Now it's a common sense thing that any institution which indulges in whataboutery, then it has something to hide, it has something else which it is thinking on. We never thought there will be a day in this country when Election Commission of India will refuse to give even the data of the votes polled on a particular day. Yet, we went ahead, one step ahead, and we advised all our candidates, especially the Congress party candidates, to meet the returning officers and take the Excel sheets of the votes polled in each booth. And you'll be surprised to know that in some constituencies, the Excel sheets have been provided, and in many other constituencies, the returning officers have refused to provide those Excel sheets. So this totally exposes this election commission, which says that they're doing their job professionally. If a simple step of providing the voting data to a candidate varies from constituency to constituency, it plainly and squarely means that something is not in order. So we request the election commission now to instruct all the returning officers to give the booth-wise data to the candidates, as some of the returning officers have already done. It's nothing new. Election Commission's own officers are providing that data. We are requesting Election Commission now to give a direction that that data should be shared with all the candidates. Number two, if Election Commission refuses to do that, I expect, and we have discussed this today, that we may again go to court. On 24th also there is a hearing. Even the Supreme Court in its observations asked the question to Election Commission that why can't it share a simple data of how many votes have been polled in one particular constituency and the total sum of those votes. So that is something that we are trying to address. We are requesting Election Commission to rise up to the occasion, reinstill the trust and faith in the voters and citizens of India that their vote will be counted the way it has been polled in EVMs. That is the primary duty of Election Commission of India. That's one thing. The other part that was discussed today in the entire civil society, because this election, we know the agencies, their roles have been very dubious. They have been playing to the tunes of their masters. The media, to a great extent, had completely obliterated people's issues and the voice of opposition. And in those years, in those times, in last 3 to 4 years, it is civil society which rose up to the occasion and raised the issues of people and ensured that those issues were talked, debated, and also parties like Congress Party, my party, has been on roads on various occasions, be it farmers movement, be it the ED raid, be it Bharat Jodo Yatra. We have tried to ensure that people are aware that there are issues which this government doesn't want to discuss, there are issues that this government wants to hide, and those issues have now become the election issues. And we were quite confident, and in fact last 3 years, the civil society also, and from Congress Party also, we have been organizing Samvidhan Bachao Yatras, Save Constitution Yatras, movements, seminars, and today the nation has voted for Constitution of India. This election has become the election to save the Constitution, and that is why now we say that the election officers who are entrusted with this duty of counting the votes, they are covered by service rules, they are covered by the oath towards constitutions, and we are reminding them that if they violate the oath and if they violate the service rules, and after the change of the government, the accountability will be fixed, because nobody can be allowed to steal the mandate. Whoever wins, it is the will of the people which should matter, not the will of some officers or will of some political parties that should matter in a democracy.
I think most of the points came from other panelists, but we people are concerned about the election commission's role, or even you can say that we are not concerned, we have lost the faith in election commissions. Because since the first phase polling, we have seen in northern India parts, especially in UP, the way they played the role in Sambhal, even in last phase in Amethi, in Muslim concentrated polling stations, they harassed the voters. Lathi charge have been going on in maximum places. Even in Sambhal, they misbehave. Even election commission people as well as the security forces misbehave with the Muslim women. So we have completely lost the faith in election commission. And the way, in the name of postal ballot, a particular party, political party's worker, BJP's worker, are going with the election commission's people for the postal ballot voting. Even in Delhi, BJP's Mayur Vihar president accepted that they went along with around 500 places along with the election commission's persons at there. So we completely lost the faith in election commission, and the way they are not telling about the voting percentage and all. Yesterday, hope you have seen the interviews of former Chief Election Commission, Mr. Qureshi. Even the former Election Commission is surprised and shocked, and they are saying why they are not disclosing the data. So we are saying, we as a civil society member, from last 10 years we were in the street. Either it is in the name of SC Act, it is in the name of roster bill, or in the name of CA, or farmer protest, or any other kind of the protest, we are a part and parcel and we played the role of opposition parties. So if if the ruling parties think like that, we campaign and then we went to the vote and then we'll sit at our place, will not do this time. Will play our role as a vigilant committee. We will be part of this whole counting process because we have two doubts. One, the doubt is that they will steal our vote. So we'll involve in counting process. We'll make vigilant committee nationwide, wherever we have a people, as Tista told, we'll make a team of former civil services people and some lawyers, some retired judges. That is the one aspect. And another thing is a stealing of the mandate. So hope you remember that in the last municipal corporation election in Delhi, 3 corporators, one from the Congress party symbol, and the next day when they went and they switched their loyalty towards Aam Aadmi Party, 30,000 people stand a whole night opposite the gate of these corporators. And the next day morning, they went back to their parties. So we'll play these types of the role, those who will switch their side. And the hope you people will remember about a movement called a student from the JNU, Najib. When the CBI was investigating the Najib's case, we people had organized 40 hours sit-in at the gate of the CBI. So if we are watching. Upcoming 24 is a hearing and a 25 is a Delhi's election. If it require, we'll organize mass sit-in at the gate of Chief Election Commission's office. Thank you very much.
All friends from media, can I give my greetings to you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Having said that, I must also add that because I have to travel somewhere to catch flight, I'll leave in a few minutes' time, with your permission. All that I want to say is about 120 organizations from Karnataka, some from outside other states, Telangana, Goa, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, they came here. And they discuss their deep concern for the process of democracy which is post-election. Elections are over. This is not a pre-election meeting. This was not a meeting for canvassing, promotion, propaganda. This was a genuine worry about what has happened to our republic, our federal republic particularly. And so we try to think together as to what our responsibility is in the coming months till the transfer of power is completed. Because by now the nation knows that the last regime has more or less lost the elections. So looking at the transfer of power as it happens through due constitutional process. So think about it. This kind of discussion happens in Bangalore, should make Karnataka feel very happy. Because Karnataka has taken a lead through Eddalu Karnataka in fighting fascism successfully. And Karnataka is taking a lead now once again in alerting the country to the need to be responsible, to be accountable for every citizen to the idea of democracy, freedom, and fair play in all constitutional processes related to election. So, thank you. Yes. And with your permission, I'll leave because I have to go somewhere. Please don't think of it as an offense.
Because we are very concerned about the narrative set by exit polls, 90% of which are false after the results. So while talking to you, I asked our team to give some indicators of what's happening on the ground. 19th April, the first phase of polling was conducted, and we just got the data. for YouTube views from 19th April to 19th of May, 1 month. The YouTube views say Yogi Adityanath 3.7 million, Arvind Kejriwal 30 million, Mr. Narendra Modi 251 million, and Rahul Gandhi 435 million. So something is happening on the ground. These narratives, these voices have to be heard. These are people who are talking, who have spoken through their vote, and let the civil society also understand and amplify these messages which portray a very different picture that was being portrayed in this nation even 2 months back. So now nobody talks about 400. Even Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah, they are scared of talking of 400 plus now. They are in their meetings, they are only talking about, okay, 272 to ho jayega. So I think that voice is loud and clear now.
ಈ ಸಭೆಯ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದ ಅಂಶಗಳನ್ನು ಬಡಗಲ್ಪುರ ನಾಗೇಂದ್ರ ಅವರು ಎದ್ದೇಳು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸರ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡಿ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್.
ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಧ್ಯಮದ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರೆ, ಭಾಳ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಪತ್ರಿಕಾಗೋಷ್ಠಿ ಆಯಿತು. ನಿಮ್ಮ ತಾಳ್ಮೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸಮಯವನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ಕ್ಷಮೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಸಮಯ ಕೊಟ್ಟಂತೆ. ಈ ಚುನಾವಣೆ ಜನರು, ಈ ದೇಶದ ಜನರು ಮತ್ತು ಸರ್ವಾಧಿಕಾರಿ ನಡುವೆ ನಡೆದಂಥ ಚುನಾವಣೆ. ಯಾವುದೇ ಪಕ್ಷದ ಸ್ಪರ್ಧೆ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಈ ದೇಶದ ಜನರು ಮತ್ತು ಸರ್ವಾಧಿಕಾರಿಯ ನಡುವೆ ನಡೆದಂಥ ಚುನಾವಣೆ. ಜನತಂತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಜನರ ನಿರೀಕ್ಷೆ, ಜನರ ತೀರ್ಮಾನವೇ ಅಂತೆ ಜನರ ತಂತ್ರವನ್ನೇ ಹಿಡಿಬೇಕಾದಂಥದ್ದು. ನಮಗೆ ಆತಂಕ ಇದೆ. ಸರ್ವಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ಪ್ರಜಾತಂತ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಕಿಂಚಿತ್ತೂ ಗೌರವ ಕೊಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರಜಾತಂತ್ರನ ಅನುಸರಿಸಲ್ಲ. ಸೋಲನ್ನು ಒಪ್ಕೊಳ್ಳದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ತಪ್ಪಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಭಾಳ ಸಂಚು ನಡೆಸ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ನಮಗೆ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಗೂ ಅರಿವಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಸಿವಿಲ್ ಸೊಸೈಟಿ ಎಚ್ಚೆತ್ತು ಈ ತೀರ್ಮಾನವನ್ನು ತಗೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಇವತ್ತು ಸಭೆ ನಡೀತಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಇದೇ ಥರ ಸಭೆ ಈ ತಿಂಗಳು 28ರಂದು ಡೆಲ್ಲಿಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನಡೀತಿದೆ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ರಾಜ್ಯಗಳಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನಡೀತಿದೆ. ಇಡೀ ಚುನಾವಣೆ ಫಲಿತಾಂಶ ಎಣಿಕೆಯಾಗಿ ಫಲಿತಾಂಶ ಬರೋವೂ ಕೂಡ ಈ ಪ್ರಜ್ಞಾಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ಇದು ಜೀವಂತವಾಗಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿ ವಾಮಮಾರ್ಗಗಳಿಗೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಎಚ್ಚರಿಕೆಯ ತೀರ್ಮಾನಗಳನ್ನು ಈ ಸಭೆ ಮೂಲಕ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಎಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಕಮಿಷನ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅದು ಈ ದೇಶದ ಪ್ರಭುತ್ವವನ್ನು ಇನ್ನೂ ನಡೆಸ್ತಿರೋರಾಗ್ಬೋದು, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಎಚ್ಚರಿಕೆ ಕೊಡುವಂಥ ತೀರ್ಮಾನವನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ನಾವು. ಆದರೆ ಪ್ರಮುಖವಾಗಿ 5 ಅಂಶಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ಈ ದೇಶದ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಪತಿಗೆ ಪತ್ರ ಬರೆದು ಅಥವಾ ಭೇಟಿಯಾಗಿ ಮನವಿ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸಿ ಮುಂದೆ ನಡೆಯುವಂಥ ಅವಘಡಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಆತಂಕ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸಿ, ನೀವು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಪ್ರಜೆಯಾಗಿ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಹೆಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಇದೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಜೋಪಾನ ನೋಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು, ಪ್ರಜಾತಂತ್ರವನ್ನು ರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ವಿನಂತಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಎರಡನೇದು, ಸುಪ್ರೀಂ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಲೀವ್ ಪೆಟಿಷನ್ ಹಾಕಿ ಚುನಾವಣೆ ನಿಗದಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆಸಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಕೋರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋವಂಥ ತೀರ್ಮಾನವನ್ನು ಇವತ್ತು ಕನ್ಕ್ಲೂಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಮತ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಸಿವಿಲ್ ಸೊಸೈಟಿನೇ ಒಂದು ಸಮಿತಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಸೂಪರ್ವೈಸನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋಂಥದ್ದು ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಇವತ್ತು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತಿಮವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಕನ್ಕ್ಲೂಷನ್ಗೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಮತ್ತು ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೂ ಕೂಡ ಏನಾದರೂ ಪ್ರಜಾತಂತ್ರ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಜವಾದಂಥ ಪಾರದರ್ಶಕತೆಯನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಎಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಕಮಿಷನ್ನೇ ದುರುಪಯೋಗ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಅವರೇನಾದರೂ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಪುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಾದರೆ, ಜನರನ್ನ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ನಡೆಯೋದಾದರೆ ನಾವು ಬೀದಿಗಿಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಮಾಸಿವ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೋಟ್ಯಾಂತರ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬೀದಿಗಿಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಇದು ಸಿವಿಲ್ ಸೊಸೈಟಿಯ ಎಚ್ಚರಿಕೆ. ಸಿವಿಲ್ ಸೊಸೈಟಿ ಪ್ರಜಾಪ್ರಭುತ್ವವನ್ನು ರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಮಾಡುತ್ತದೆ. ಪ್ರಜಾಪ್ರಭುತ್ವವನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಈ ತೀರ್ಮಾನವನ್ನು ಮುಂದುವರಿಸ್ತೀವಿ. ಯಾವುದೇ ಸರ್ವಾಧಿಕಾರಿ ಆಟ ನಡೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಎಚ್ಚರಿಕೆ ಕೊಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಿ. ಇಷ್ಟು
ಪತ್ರಕರ್ತರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದ್ದರೆ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಕೇಳಬೇಕು. ಬೇರೆಯವರು ಪತ್ರಕರ್ತರು ಅಲ್ದಿದ್ದವರು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಯಾರು ಮಾತಾಡಬಾರ್ದು. ಏನಾದರೂ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು, ಕ್ಲಾರಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಚಂದ್ರು ಮೈಕ್ ಕೊಡಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಕೇಳಿ ಮೈಕ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಹಾಗೆ ಕೇಳಿ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಕೇಳಿ ಹಾಂ.
I have two questions. One is to Mr. Dev Sahai. So this entire thing of voter percentage being revised by 6 to 7% is up. I think Mike Idrivasi.
ಮೈಕ್
Hello.
Am I audible?
ಇಲ್ಲ ಚಂದ್ರು ಇದೇ ಕೊಡಿ ಇದೆ.
So my question is to you. The doubt that has come with the revision of votes from the initial percentage to increasing to about 6 to 7%. One accusation is that means that it's being doctored. Is that possible technically? How would that even happen if we were to? And my second question, if I may just add, is for everybody in the panel. So I'm from the News Minute. We have been taking up these issues regularly, but I don't see this reflecting in mainstream media, if I may use that term. And they are the ones who have the reach, right? They reach people that we don't and we can't. So what is the plan to make sure that there is a general awareness and it is not being discussed in seminars like these and, you know, just a few journalists like us take it up? That's my question for anybody else in the panel.
Yeah, I can answer both the questions because we discussed this in the morning. See, when I addressed in the morning, you were not there. You were there in the morning? Okay, we had a tabulated form of the first phase, and I took Tamil Nadu, which has completed the polling in all the. So there is a variation of 7.41%. 7.41. In physical terms, it came to 42 lakh votes. 42 lakh votes. And as you know, Tamil Nadu has got 39 constituencies. It works out to 1.2 lakh per constituency. The variation. 1.2 lakh is a massive variation. So that was one state which has completed the trend is the same. And in all the 5-1, it will be the same. How we are suspecting foul play is that when you are not given the final absolute number of the votes, what are you going to count? See, the most basic thing is every candidate and even the public should know in every constituency how many votes have been polled in absolute numbers. Nobody is interested in percentage. Percentage can go plus minus. Only then we know how many are going to be counted. So what they probably the hidden plan is there will be huge variation between votes polled, votes counted, and you manipulate the election. And wherever there is a variation in counting, you could always manipulate in such a manner that that's what Sabyasachi Das. I mentioned about that also. My article will be coming today or tomorrow. I'll share it with you in the wire. Sabyasachi Das, that is what he calls it, the turnout manipulation, which includes voting manipulation and counting manipulation. That is why they are not. See, now they are creating confusion. Another thing is, as you know, the first principle of corruption, the administrative parlance, we say that. First principle of corruption is chaos. If there is no chaos, create chaos. So election commission is creating, I am charging the election commission is creating chaos with the intention for corruption. That's why we said we will now concentrate on the returning officers, because they are the people who have to decide this as far as this is concerned. So I have explained the point.
Hi, I just wanted to speak on the second question, media, and then I just add a little bit on the first. Media, you see, the thing is, if you look at figures over the last 2.5 months, the commercial media that you're talking about, I don't call it mainstream anymore. The commercial media, which is, I'm talking about television channels, I'm not looking at print just now, has been far overtaken by the YouTube channels, which are independent in all languages. And this can be verified. It's not something I'm saying, it can be verified with numbers. So I think for dissemination, the dissemination will happen with independent media and through independent and local media. Local media at in the languages, in the regional languages, which is both print and YouTube and digital. So I think it's not just English media and print media, we're looking at regional media in multidimensional form. And I think what we're looking at is micro level surveys, constituency level surveys, which then become region level surveys, which then become state level surveys. And I think that's eminently possible now with 5 phases over and only 2 phases to go. And that is what we will be doing. So it's not a seminar room. This was just to discuss an action plan. And then it will be put out in operation constituency wise in the different states. Secondly, at the moment, in terms of the first question, I just want to say, let the 17C form be made available by the returning officer to set all doubts at rest. Why is, and Form B also. Why is that not being made available when the law says you have to make it available to the candidate? And that should be a question News Minute or Times of India. All should be asking. And in fact, Deccan Herald has an editorial on this today. So I think some sections of the print media in the languages and in English are raising this issue. That the trust factor between the voter and the election commission is important. And this is not a seminar level campaign. It has been fought on the ground in Karnataka and it has been fought on the ground in all the states of the country for the last 3 months.
ಬೇರೆ ಯಾರಿಗಾರು? ಸುದೀಪ್.
No, the way you're describing the scenario post-elections, it appears all of you are preparing for a national level campaign in different parts of the country where you're going to essentially question the results. If that were to happen, going by what the courts have done so far, they have not been very sympathetic to any aspersions cast on the election commission. What kind of situation do we see unfolding after the elections then? Will there be, sounds like a bit of a civil war, like a bit of a chaotic situation. So what will happen? Can you just paint a scenario?
I think the civil society and the political parties are saying a very simple thing. People have voted and the votes have to be counted the way it has been stored in the EVMs. It's a simple demand and we are saying it is duty of the Election Commission to instill this trust in people of India that their vote is safe. I think anything beyond this, even the phrases that you've used in your question, actually puts a question mark on Election Commission, that even media today is framing questions which in last all the elections since 1950 have never ever come up in public discourse. So this accountability lies with the government of the day and the Election Commission to allay these fears and ensure that there is a smooth process and the votes are counted and the mandate is honored.
So it's like this. The election commissions, the way it was constituted, raised a lot of doubts. We are not readily accusing them of anything, but we are pointing out that the elimination of the role of the Supreme Court from the appointment of the election commissioners casts serious doubts about the impartiality of the commission. Therefore, it is for the commission to establish that, your doubts are unfounded, we are okay. But so far, whatever has happened, in terms of the repeated violation of the model code of conduct by the Prime Minister and the bigwigs of the ruling party, the refusal of the Election Commission of India to publish the final count of the polling data, even today, and the role of the Election Commission when a large number of voters were prevented from voting, a lot of irregularities taking place, which are coming out, And the way the Election Commission writes letters to the political party leaders, the tone, they do not give confidence to general onlooker. I'm not talking about the interested parties. We are not interested parties. We have a very serious yet limited objective. And that objective is that the people's will should be faithfully reflected in the ballot. That's it. Whatever that is. And if that were not to happen, then the civil society will have to take measures. The civil society will have to challenge. And I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. Sudipto. I mean, let's not use those terminologies of civil war and things like that. It's a very limited thing. It's an assertion of civic right. That's all. It's a very limited thing. And it's going to be a very decentralized thing, in the sense, in a constituency, if people feel that 100 have voted but they counted 150, or if a lot of people feel in a particular ward or a particular booth that we know we're all from this booth and we voted for a particular symbol, particular candidate, but the results show something else, we feel that that should be protested. Our protest should be registered. That's all. And of course, and Pooja, it's not a seminar. It is a serious, what do you call, a serious thinking of how do we strengthen the guardrails of democracy, the republic. And I think, I don't know why you said that, if it doesn't get into the mainstream media, how will it reach people? You're not serious. Mainstream media nobody trusts these days, including the regime. That is the reason why they have, huge armies, digital armies. If they trust the mainstream media, they won't have digital armies. They have digital armies. Another thing which escaped, and when I spoke in the morning, and I was mentioning it to Mr. Ganesh Devi also, to prepare the minds of the people, your mainstream media will flood us with a lot of exit polls that this party is winning, that party is winning, that leader is still popular, and all that. That is expected, and it happens. But another interesting thing which goes often unnoticed, which has a very huge influence on the Indian psyche, is that some astrologers also will come into play. They will start saying, Mars is here, Shukra is there, and Buddha is here. Therefore, for the next 20 years, 30 years, this is going to continue, and all that kind of a thing. So they will prime our minds to believe that, whatever is the stolen mandate is the real mandate.
ಓಕೆ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರೆ, ಇದು ಮುಗಿಸೋಣಲ್ಲ ಸುದೀಪ್? ಓಕೆ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಈ ಕರೆಯ ಮೇರೆಗೆ ಬಂದಿರೋ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪತ್ರಿಕಾ ಮಿತ್ರರಿಗೆ ಭಾಳ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಈ ಸಭೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು, ಪ್ರೀತಿಪೂರ್ವಕ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ.